All right, welcome to what I think is the last Wave 1 hero I have to talk about for Summary Judgment. As I said, I was just trying to power through Wave 1. I actually sat down and did most of them in a sitting here, so I think I was a little shorter, but honestly I think I rambled a lot more in those early videos, much like I'm doing right now. And I think getting the important information out there for these heroes is good, and then other episodes we can dive into details and compositions and whatnot. Also makes these a little bit more digestible to the viewer. So anyways, today we wrap up with Thrommel. The reason it's not Zarin is because I did him earlier, so these weren't all recorded alphabetically. I think I will just do alphabetical for Wave 2 when I get to that, but anyways, Thrommel Ironbeard. Was there ever a more dwarf sounding name? He's a dwarf warrior. Don't get hung up on warrior here. That has a lot of distinctions in a lot of games. Here it's just flavor. He is a defender. That is not flavor. That is an actual role. He has a solar harvest of 4. He has a move of 3, an agility of 3, 2 resilience, a melee of 6. And that weapon, he brings a warhammer, which is a melee type attack with a 2 action cost. So this is the first hero that we'll talk about that has that distinction. He has a 2-inch range on that weapon, and he does a 4, 5, 7 for damage, which is the highest. Let's just assume this is true. This is the highest damage line in the game, but of course it costs 2 actions, so it probably should be. He starts off with 18 damage boxes. He gains 2 at level 2 and 2 at level 3, so we will just top out at 22. As far as innate abilities, he has Bodyguard. The first time a friendly this is at level 1, obviously. First time a friendly non-defender model within 2 inches of this model is targeted by an enemy attack. This turn, the friendly model gains +2 resilience until that attack is resolved. Bodyguard can only be triggered once per turn. Combat maneuvers. He has concussive blow, so it's a single symbol. Enemy model damaged by the warhammer suffers the stun condition. I'm going to stop right here and talk about something. Double checking myself. There's never a time if he does damage with his attack, so as long as he has a single hit or J, there's no time that he will not damage them. So just keep that in mind with this ability. It is very strong because it is nearly impossible to prevent. If you can, like I said, if you can roll a hit, he does damage. Nothing in the game has a resilience of 4. And you always get at least 1 die. So that means it's doing damage with his weapon, which won't necessarily get you the stun because you need a symbol. Doing damage with this weapon always will allow you to trigger this if you have a symbol. He also has an active ability called Hammer Time. So it costs a single fate, and an enemy model that has been damaged by the Warhammer attack suffers enemy model damaged by Warhammer attack suffers D3 true damage and the knockdown condition. Alright, going to level 2, he gets Immovable Object, which says he cannot be pushed by enemy models by any means, and he cannot be knocked down. He can still be thrown, however. So he'll be repositioned, just not knocked down. And then at level 3, he gains everybody's favorite. Dwarf Toss. His active ability costs an action and a fate. Place this model anywhere completely within 6 inches of its current location. Enemy models within 2 inches of the newly placed location suffer the knockdown condition. Let's see if there's any notes here. It talks about knockdown, talks about stun. It does specify that the 2 action cost on his hammer does mean charging will cost all 3 or moving and attacking or whatever. And even if he doesn't move, he's still stuck with that being the case. And then just a note on true damage. Alright, so Thrommel. This dude is the dwarfiest dwarf. He's short, he's tanky, he's got armor, he doesn't move very fast, he makes 1 big attack. However, Thrommel is 1 big attack is very good. So I talked about Marcus earlier. Marcus does bring some like knockdown effect and things like that, but Thrommel is Thrommel's not really a wall like Don Rockar, right? He's not really controlling space in the way that I would say Marcus is. But what he is doing is sort of like a, I liken him in a lot of ways to being one of those, you know, like if you're looking for like a dive onto something, You know, if you think about MOBA concepts as this game is based around, he's certainly the type that's going to want to dive on a hero, right? Because if he can get in there, you can smack that knockdown on. So if you can give him a fate, you can pretty convince, or you can pretty, as long as you have a fate to allocate to him, he's going to be able to get in there, swing it, charge in with the hammer. He, as I said, on a charge, he's probably going to be able to get at least like a hit, you know, a glance and a symbol or a J or something like that on his dice. That's going to allow you to use concussive blow. That's going to allow you to use hammer time. And even if you don't follow up with more damage, now that's more effects than they can shake. So the thing you hit with it is going to be taking at least one less action on their next turn, and they're going to be spending a fate to shake one of those two effects, or they're going to take 2 less actions. So that by itself means you can sort of like take something out of the game. It's also a knockdown effect on hammer time, so that's going to be able to set you up with, you know, set you up kind of for a kill, right? So you can get in there with him, charge in a Rakir who bounces back to his orb, or throw some fireballs with someone like Astariel, or whatever. It's flaming arrow technically, or fire arrow, but you get the idea. Those are the types of plays that he can set up. And then of course bodyguard is going to be good to, you know, him giving out 2 resilience to some of those heroes that don't otherwise have it is certainly going to change the equation quite a bit. And you're, again, pardon me, your opponent's going to have to respect that when they're going in and talking about like what kind of damage. I don't think I've ever gotten him to level 3, but Dwarf Toss makes me so happy to see as an ability, especially because that does the knockdown effect. So again, now he's got more knockdown that he doesn't even have to do damage or hit or anything like that to pull off. But as I've said, that hammer hits real hard, and it's limited by the fact that you can only swing it once. But something that is pretty cool that he can do is, we talked about Cavardo in a different episode, and Cavardo's mind control does allow him to just make a hammer attack. So now you're getting a 2-action attack from 1 action, for 1 additional action, and that's very powerful. In that, you know, you could have Thrommel run, Thrommel. Thrommel and Thrower, I always want to say backwards. Thrommel can run and do that effect and still get that concussive blow off. Or if you think about how, right, like, let's say he charges in, he gets his, let's say he gets a glance and a maneuver, so he can get the stun, he gets the knockdown. Now Cavardo comes up, says, go ahead and make another attack. Well, now he's making it against a knockdown model, so the likelihood of that crit happening is very high. So he throws another 7 damage on top of that. You could pretty easily have something like a, 11 plus a D3, so minimum 12 damage attack. On average, it's more like 13, which is the HP of a few of the squishier heroes in the game, right? So if you can use him to get on like a Saiyan or an Astariel and get off that whole sequence of things, and that's assuming you only got a glance in the first place, right? Which is maybe not going to be the case. So yeah, pairing with Cavardo can be very, very strong. I think pairing him with anybody who really likes the knockdown effect, because if you can get him a Fate, I would say he is one of the most consistent, pardon me, knockdowns in the game. But like I said, I've occasionally gotten him to level 2, and I don't think I've ever gotten him to level 3, so keep that in mind with him. I do think he's going to want to spend a little more Fate than he's going to spend a little more Fate than Don Rockar, probably less than Marcus though, just because of Marcus's wall. And probably a little bit more than Skull. Skull is actually a really great defender in that he doesn't, like, he kind of is affecting the game regardless, but he's not going to be doing his crowd control without a Fate and stuff. So yeah, that's Thrommel in a nutshell for you. A very cool model. He's one of the very first, I would call him one of the more basic models in the line, but he's still great. I love his base and him like charging in with that big hammer, while still being, like this mighty dwarf type look. Yeah, I really like Thrommel. Thrommel was the first model that my wife painted in this line, partially because he was sort of one of the most basic, and she wanted to kind of get in on a lighter note to start with. But he still looks amazing. You know, he looks very much like that classic dwarf, the big hammer that you're all kind of imagining. So, anyways, I believe this concludes Wave 1. So if you liked this, let me know how you felt I did with this series. We'll be talking compositions at some point. We'll be talking monsters, Wave 2, artifacts, maps, you know it. As the more time I get to play games, the more likely we will be with some of this. So let me know what you think. I will certainly be willing to talk some Judgement tech anytime anybody's interested in. Check out the Discord, check out the website. And as always, thank you for watching.